Nick Lauer, what's happening, brother?
You are, my friend.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
What's the game plan for today?
For today,
Yep.
the game plan for today is we're going to relax. We're going to relax for the rest of the day.
Right on.
We're going to enjoy the rest of today. Sunshine and all.
It's beautiful out. Beautiful July. It feels like everything's kind of coming to life in Marquette. Everybody's happy to see one another. There's tourists bustling in. There's a lot of energy downtown. There's a lot of energy in this area in July, you know?
Well, it's that endless summer feel,
Right. We're in dead center,
and everybody's
right?
chasing it.
Right in the middle of it.
It's a neat thing.
It's interesting too because when you get towards that point, you feel like that endless summer, and then you start to realize that the end is going to come. The end of summer
Fairly
it will
quickly.
come, right?
It moves quick.
It does.
I like to think that we have 10 perfect days in the UP.
Really.
10. No bugs, no bad weather. You can be outside in just shorts and a t-shirt.
Yep. Did we just get through those 10 days?
We might have.
I
We
think
might have already spent them.
right, because the bugs are in full effect right now.
I think there's one or two that usually shows up late September, October. You get a day or two. Like those are my favorite. Like where you get
Yeah.
80 degrees in the first part of October. You
Right?
know,
For a very short time.
just that day.
And it's like a break from the storm. So, not working on the gym at all this evening.
No.
That's kind of a new project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably pretty consuming if you don't approach it with caution.
It is for me because I can think about just the endless what ifs and what and how and this and that and what do you want this to be. I can make it a full on marathon event. And
Right.
I need to, again, take breaks from that in order to be productive. Otherwise, I just get kind of worn down to the ground and worn into dust, and then I'm no good to anybody.
Right.
I mean, it's just the way it goes, you
It's
know.
the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. So how do you find that balance? How do you find that balance with this new, I mean, it's a big project.
You just have to be honest with yourself. If I was working for somebody else, not that it's a bad thing, but would I want to do it every single day? There'd probably be days that I'd want to be off and enjoy a night, you know,
Yeah.
and spend time with my family and things like that. And I just have to be honest that that's who I am. I have to have that. I have to have a night of family time. I have to have a moment to myself. I have to have these things. So even we're going camping this weekend. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm in the middle of building out a gym.
Building out a brand new space.
By building out a brand new space, you know what I mean? So like getting paint, getting all these are the utmost importance, and I don't think so. I think, again, going back and making sure that I enjoy a minute of summer, go out and just kind of let things sit for a minute. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? The ball's already rolling, the momentum's already happened. So for me to take a sidestep and just go, I need a day or two to myself, I don't see any problem with that.
No.
You know.
And like you said, it takes that to keep doing what you're doing. It takes that moment of reflection, that moment of stillness or of contemplation that allows you to keep doing what you're doing.
Because by the time I'm on the way home from this camping trip, I'll be thinking about wanting to go back to work.
Right.
And right now it's just been work, 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 work.
And so you're thinking about
I'm thinking
wanting
about
to take
just
this
taking a
camping
moment
trip.
off. Yep. I'm just going to kind of flip it for a minute. It's not nearly the amount of time that I put into working, but that's not realistic. You know what I mean? So,
Not right now. We're still young.
yeah, and I enjoy it.
Plenty of energy.
I don't think I could do that all the time. You know what I mean? That would become a chore too, sleeping in the dirt and all that other type of stuff. So,
Surviving.
I'm sure you know all about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Today, as I was living in the wilderness of
And you-
Marquette County.
You appreciate a hot shower after a week or so.
I
in it.
appreciate a sink.
A toilet.
I appreciate a toilet.
Yeah.
Appreciate the sink mostly for water
Yeah.
as a source of
Just
water.
being able to turn it on and it
Do
just
your
runs
dishes,
out.
right? You just appreciate things a lot more for what they are, even though they're simple. And you start to realize a lot of time that you might be just pissing away. I found that most of my screen time is pissing time away, and only some of it is effective. So when I was out there, I was actually active on social media when I was, sleeping in a different spot every single night. And that was for 65 days. I was still active on social media. I was still doing yoga every single day. So it was like finding that when I got on social media, it was for a purpose, and then I was done with it. And that was my only like screen time for the day.
It's awesome.
You have a set aside time for it, and it has a purpose,
Yeah.
and then you're good.
It's the way it should be.
It's like using it as a tool, right? We talked about money being a tool. The social media is a tool, right? And it can be good and it can be bad. If it's utilized like a tool, I think about a tool belt. If I had a tool belt and I needed to build a house, that's what my dad did. He had specific tools that went on that tool belt, and then they looked a certain way, and there was a certain character to each tool that he was using, and
Well, but I think it's such a new tool, and I resisted it for such a long time that it's foreign to know where that balance with it is, and I think it's designed to be a little addictive.
yeah, it's by design,
So
right?
I kind of have an addictive personality. So kind of once I get caught up in it a little bit, I tend to stay in it. So it takes a minute. Again, you got to just take a break from everything, set it all down, let everything cool off a little bit.
Yep. To do a little reset.
Yeah. But then I think you come back with a better perspective on it.
And I like what you said, because a lot of those thoughts come from time spent alone, and there's a healthy balance of that as well, like being with a big group of people, being with just one friend, being with two friends, being with yourself. They're all vastly different experiences based on like what you're doing and where your consciousness is at, where your thoughts are,
Yeah.
right? And so, do you find that you get that same reset from hanging out with groups of people?
I guess what's a group?
I guess like this bike trip, do you still get that reset that
Oh,
you
yeah, I
need?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. A group of people is exhausting. Sometimes you get 20, 30 people doing stuff. It kind of is a slow moving herd, and it's a weird thing. It is. You know what I mean?
Try, yeah, a few hundred too.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Same
Even
kind
more so. It just becomes
of a concert,
clunky,
right?
but a few people out having a good time, man, I think that I can definitely reset in that,
Yeah.
Again, being in a service industry where you don't have to be on. You're not going to have to be on around any of these people. You know what I mean? And on maybe sounds dumb, but I mean, just present and in a good mood, you know what I mean? And focus on what you're doing. Here we're going to be able to just go and have a good time. And again, reset.
And that's interesting, on and off, right? When you're on, and to still be present, right? I feel like,
Well, and I mean, like when I go to work, I try not to concern myself with my problems.
Right.
If somebody's coming into the gym, I want to hear about their day. I want to do this. I'm not trying to throw my shit on anybody else's plate. You know what I mean? Again, I'm
Yes.
trying to take some off theirs.
exactly. And that's when it becomes, it's not about you anymore,
Yeah.
right? It's about the work. It's about what you believe in. Jiu-Jitsu. You believe in Jiu-Jitsu. You're doing what you believe in.
Yep. Doing what I care about.
Right. Right. And passing it along. Yeah.
It's a neat thing.
It's a really neat thing.
I feel pretty fortunate to be doing something like that.
Right?
I never in a million years expected to be in the position I'm in right now. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Right?
It's a learning experience. It seems like each day there's more to be learned, more to grow from, more challenges to face, you know what I mean? But I don't see that as a bad thing because that's kind of the process I go through. That's just how I grow. That's how I kind of keep moving on down the road. So if that makes any sense.
Keep it rolling on down the road, yeah. Big time. It's interesting too because of the population that it finds. Jiu-Jitsu calls a certain type of person. It calls for, and that's everybody. That's something in everybody.
Yes.
You know what I'm kind of saying? What do you
Yeah.
think that is?
Curious.
Curiosity.
Just maybe the thrill of problem solving. You know what I mean? I think I think that's an attractant to people. I think it attracts fairly intelligent people. You know, people who like, again, I think we were talking earlier about maybe being a little overstimulated sometimes.
Yep.
People who like that overstimulation, because a human being on top of you trying to choke you is a little bit overstimulating for most folks. And to find comfort in that's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So it's not.
It's a big question mark.
Yeah.
But that's where that curiosity comes in, is because why? When people say, why is that appealing? There it is.
Well, and the longer.
There's the curiosity.
Yeah. And the longer you stay with it, the more it just becomes an understanding of what it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have described it as just like a meditation on violence a little bit, not to be too dark about things, but you're understanding what can be done to you, what you can do to others, and it tends to make people more peaceful for whatever reason.
That's a strange thing, right? Mm-hmm. You're talking about coming out of the gym, biggest smile on your face.
Well, but there again, you've gained some self-confidence, you know what I mean? You have that real-time feel whether or not anything worked that day. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that's neat for people. I don't get real-time feedback in anything else I do. Nothing. Did that work? Nope, you got choked.
Right.
Did it work? Yeah, yep, he got choked. You know?
It's pretty cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cut and dry. And it's not, well, it's interesting because it's very complex, but it's not too complex to figure out.
No. Protect yourself.
Right? Protect yourself. It's defense first.
And once you get over the protect yourself, you can start playing offense a little bit.
Right. It's fascinating to see that tree grow.
Mm-hmm.
And is it endless?
I would have to assume.
Is it endless? Like there is no top?
I think because there's always somebody coming underneath.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's always people
recycling,
who's starting younger than you and getting more knowledge, and they're learning from the mistakes that I've been doing it for 15 years. Right. I've made some mistakes.
Right.
You know, so then again, if somebody comes and gets to avoid 6-7 years of mistake making, they're naturally going to progress faster than me.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And so then that kind of eats that, you know?
Right. And you think about a tree, the way that I thought about it, right? The top is the top of the tree and that's it. But the leaves fall off, mm-hmm. right? And they fall into the ground as seeds, and then the seeds, you know, mm-hmm. bring new trees. Mm-hmm. It's an orchard. Like when you see an apple seed, what do you see?
A potential tree.
An orchard.
An orchard.
An orchard of
mm-hmm.
trees, right?
That's a neat thought.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You helped me with that. You know? With jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
With life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For the last 5 years in October.
Is that how long we've been hanging out?
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. 5 years in October. I got here when I was 18.
I thought you were 30.
I was not 30.
I'm like, who's this extra young looking grown up?
Extra young. Yeah. Yeah. I got that today. I was talking to an old lady.
She said you're extra young?
She didn't tell me I was extra young, but it was along those lines. I had just jumped in the lake. I was feeling good.
She didn't call you little mister, did she?
She didn't call me a squirrel. She didn't call me little mister or nothing. But she looked at me and she was like, she looked at me and she said, be a good boy or something like that when she left. And I was like, be a good man. And she was like, yeah, how old are you again? I said, 23. And she's like, yeah, be a good man. Like, whatever. It's all good.
I'm sure depending on her age, she probably looked at you as a grandchild.
As a grandchild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Yeah, I do look young, though. That's the thing with coaching, too. I struggle with that with coaching. You know, coaching the high school team, that's 4 years away. 5 years.
What's the matter with that?
I'm 5 years senior. There's nothing wrong with that.
And I think it's cool.
Right? If there can be problems with it, there can be potential.
There will be
downfalls to it.
But if you continue to work hard at it and work at it, in 10 years, mm-hmm. you're just going to look like the motherfucker who needs to be there. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, this is Coach Ryan. He's been our head coach for 13. You know what I mean?
Like the guy before me.
Yeah, like he's the man. He's not a young man anymore. You know what I mean? Like, dude, time's going to catch up with you. Trust me.
Yeah.
I still think I'm 12. I'm damn near 40.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From looking outside, I still think, well, I'm still that teenager. You know what I mean? Time's working, you know? So
Yeah.
I think it'll be cool.
It's always working. And it has been cool. 1 year as head, right? First year I was just an
Head coach.
assistant.
And how many kids did you take to state?
Three. Three
That's
kids.
huge.
We had 5 kids on our team.
And 3 of them went to
Three of
state.
them went to states, you know?
I'd say that's above average.
We started with 22, Nick. We started with 22 kids. We ended the season with 5.
You killed that many, huh?
Killed them.
Killed them.
Gone.
Dead.
Yep. They didn't drink the Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They
didn't.
didn't buy in.
They didn't buy in. But the ones who did
Did
are
awesome.
really, they're reaping the benefits. They learn a lot. You know?
That's cool though. But I mean,
Sport. It's
think
not
of
me teaching these.
but think of how much information those kids are getting from being on a smaller team. Yeah, they're not getting the looks, but the details and the amount of coaching that's being put into them is probably second to none.
It's one-on-one. You know, you know how it is when you work with a small group.
Yeah.
You get those details.
Yeah. And you can sit and hammer those things out and perfect those things for
Right.
them. Yeah.
And all the car rides are as a team.
Yep.
We are a unit, no matter how small the car gets.
Yep.
Right.
That's cool.
So it's pretty. It's something.
And especially with that being the first year, I can't imagine it's going to go down. Hopefully you build from that.
Well, I think people start to notice those kind of things happening.
Oh shit.
Right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen normally. They haven't. You know, it's been 11 years since they've had that many qualify. You know. So
Well, but I think sometimes the difference becomes as someone who's just truly passionate about it. Again, it doesn't seem like something you're doing to inflate your own ego or self-worth. It seems like you naturally kind of care about the kids in that community and you want to help them.
well, I can see it, and I can see what that sport did for me.
You know what it did for you. Same thing it did for me.
Right. So that's in my heart, right? Like I know what the sport can do for people, and then I see these kids who need it, right? And if they're asking,
You'll give it.
you know, this worked for me.
You're just there for the ones who are interested.
You know, somebody did it for me. That's the big thing. Like, well, why do I keep? You know, it's 5 nights a week for 2 hours every night, and then 12 hours on Saturday. I mean, it's a kind of a gig.
It's
right?
a real gig.
It
Yeah.
takes some time, and it's like
And it's hard to fake.
somebody did it for me. It's impossible to fake. Impossible. Especially once you've been doing it the right way for a period of time that they start to understand.
Yes.
And they start to get used to. Because consistency is really big with kids.
It's huge.
Really big with kids.
I think it's important for everyone. You know what
I think consistency is probably the most neglected variable of the equation in a lot of circumstances. Everyone wants to go in with a big bang and you know, and it fizzles.
Because it's hard work.
Soda goes flat. Stick with water.
Well, but I mean, that's the thing about, finding a way to pick that back up, to bring it back around to, like I said, taking a moment off, even when it's not the perfect time, to make sure that you recharge so you can, continue to give.
Right. Right. There's a lot of truth to that. The kids class for jiu-jitsu has been outstanding. Monday, from what I can tell, it's been awesome.
It's a neat thing. At first, I was really had second thoughts about it, and it was a little overwhelming and teaching kids but I think Connor and I and you and Phoebe and Roscoe and everybody who's been helping Rachel with that kids program, you know what I mean? It's a neat thing, man. We're doing neat things for those kids, and it's been doing neat things for me. Like I noticed that I'm coming away from teaching those classes, and I feel better. I really feel good. Like I like teaching them, and I like being with those kids, and I like them learning and curious, and I like them, struggling through things and then coming out the other end, and they're like, I did that. It's a cool thing to watch happen. It feels like it's making me a better person a little bit. It's a weird thing.
It tends out. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Right. When it becomes selfless.
Yeah.
It becomes real easy, right?
Yeah.
To flow, right? If you know the system, there's a system to walking in to a room with mats,
Mm-hmm.
right? A padded floor,
Mm-hmm.
and putting on a gi or pajamas, however you want to put it, and then have 15, 20 kids walk in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you're that guy
Yeah.
with the pajamas on in the padded room.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
And there's a plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's all
There's
thought
skills.
about, you know.
Those are skills.
Trying to think about those kids and what they need and to bring it back around is, you know, some of their parents are sending them there with the hopes that they are learning a real self-defense that could
Save their
potentially
life.
save them someday.
Save their life.
You know, so that type of pressure and that type of thought really it makes me want to work harder. Makes me want to do better by those kids, you know,
Yeah.
because now you think about, you know, I have kids. So if they were ever in a vulnerable situation where they had to use that stuff, I'd like to make sure that they have the utmost skills to be able to protect themselves, you know. And if we become, you know, sport jiu-jitsu champions and all those other types of things along the way, aces, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if they, you know, can maybe stand up for themselves and not take some shit on a playground,
Right.
that's half of life battles. That's half of life's battles.
Could
You know
change,
what I mean?
It could change their life.
Yeah.
Right.
We should be able to
One circumstance.
to be able to go through middle school and high school with just a touch of confidence.
Just
Man,
a
that would have
touch.
been huge.
Right. That would have been great.
Yeah.
To have some kind of, to stop having to lie all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that was me. I was always like lying to other kids, trying to be something I wasn't. It's exhausting. Exhausting. I kept exhausting myself,
Yeah.
trying to be cool.
So, no, it's been a neat thing, and I'm pretty thankful for it, you know. And then watching, again, just what it's doing for the community, what it's doing for Connor, what it's doing for me. Like I said, you and Roscoe, and we all, Phoebe, Rachel, we all tend to kind of get a little better from it. So,
It's rewarding. It's
Mm-hmm.
rewarding work. You know, you're able to touch somebody's lives. What I was going to say is that could change the course of their life forever. It's just one circumstance on a playground that they were able to diffuse.
that's a heavy thought for me. I try not to get wrapped up in that. You know what I mean? Like what the further outcomes could be. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like I said, being
To neutralize the situation, though,
well, but to be an influence like that in people's lives is a pretty big thought for me. You know what I mean? Like you said, somebody coming in and that changes someone. Awesome. You know what I mean?
great.
Perfect.
Right. Let's not take that too far.
Yeah.
Right, because then it becomes like a what if scenario.
It's just weird.
It's a
You know what I mean?
huge
Then
what
you
if.
start second guessing
Why
things.
talk
and,
about what ifs?
Yeah.
Hypotheticals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you avoid hypothetical?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't what if a lot.
That's probably good.
I mean, I said earlier, you know, what if about, you know, again, this new business and stuff.
Sure.
There's a lot of
Shit like that floats around.
yes.
Right? But
I don't what if a whole lot.
And
What if this happens?
yeah.
What if that happens? Like, if it happens, let's deal with it.
some people must find it entertaining to do the hypothetical. In a lot of conversations, you'll come across people trying to say, what if, a lot, you know? You experience that?
Yeah. I don't. What if? Well, we'll deal with that when it happens.
Yeah.
You
There's
know
not
what I
much to talk about.
There isn't. You know, and I think sometimes that happens when there isn't anything to talk about. You know, we kind of create something. We'll create a what if. Well, if this happens, then well, we got to do this, and this, and then somebody will be like,
Giant,
well,
yeah.
that I didn't like that, so let's talk about this weird
Disagreement.
what the hell are we talking about? None of this even happened. You know what I mean?
Nonsense.
None of it even happened.
Talking about nonsense.
Talking about nonsense. But it's easy to do.
Yeah.
You know, and you find yourself in a nonsense conversation sometimes. You're like, what am I even talking about?
Right.
None of this shit's even real. It's not even happening.
Yeah. Doing that with yourself constantly. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
But it does seem like the kids program and the adult program, it's all going smooth. You know, it's smooth, and there's always, like you said, room for improvement.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing it.
Yeah. And young at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Young at doing
it.
this.
Right.
Young at running a business, young at being a teacher, young at all of it.
Right.
You know, so I try not to be too heavy-handed on it, because I'm just hammering shit out now. I'm building it. You know, we jumped off a cliff, and we're trying to figure out how to build a damn airplane before we hit the ground. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Did anybody bring any tools with? Mm-hmm.
Kinda.
Maybe. Let me check my pocket. I got a screwdriver, you know?
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
You know?
So, and is that the right way or the wrong way? I don't know. That's kind of how I
You
operate.
might strip some bolts along the way, but it'll get the job done.
But I'll learn, though.
Yeah.
Those bolts that I do strip are going to be lessons, you know? And from the lessons, I can hopefully improve on. You know, like, oh, boy, we botched that up.
And maybe
Let's-
replace those someday.
Yeah.
Replace those bolts.
Yes.
But that's how you learn. You get them on there, you know, you crash again, you know, to say that, you know, that didn't work. We're going to change some screws around.
Yeah.
Get it.
But I've gotten real comfortable with that process.
As the journey.
Yeah.
Like people want to say the destination is the journey. Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
enjoying the destination as the process.
Enjoying the process. I like hard work. I like a little bit of pressure. I like a little bit of fear is a great motivator for me. You know,
What's that thing you say about driven by fear or spite?
I'm driven by spite and motivated by love.
By love.
Yeah.
Does that still ring true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's one of those things
Spite's
that
maybe a
always
bad
will.
word, but again,
It-
just people who maybe said you can't, you
Yeah.
won't, you aren't.
Yeah.
Never will be.
It's derived from others.
Yes. Yeah.
Spite.
Yeah. Maybe just others' lack of faith in me.
Faith.
You know, not that I need anybody's faith in me, but just, you know, when you tell somebody an idea or a thought, and they're like, "You'll never be that," and it's
Right.
like, wait a minute.
Right. So if you said driven by faith and motivated by love, it would be too hippie talk.
No, not only no.
No.
Not driven by faith. Again, just kind of
Lack of faith.
yeah. Maybe it's motivated by spite and driven by love. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I care about
Yeah.
people, but again, some of those things that have been said and done, and those things in the past, maybe shouldn't be holding on to. But it's also a pretty good starting fluid for those cold mornings when you don't want to leave the house, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna, because I don't want to go back to what I was. I want to keep moving forward.
Right.
You know, so a little bit of that spite
It's,
keeps you going on those cold days.
Yep. It's like a little bit of cayenne pepper.
Yep, just a little bit. You know,
Little zip to
and
it.
it's not. I don't have any malice or ill will towards anybody
Right, no
that
harm.
is the motivator. It's just duly noted that this was said at one point in time, and we're going to make sure that we clear that hurdle without any questions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's going to be no line judge saying my toe hit that hurdle. It's like it made that hurdle. You know, got it.
Right. I've always been fascinated by that statement. It's interesting.
Yeah. You know, because I mean, I like the idea of love. You know, of caring about other people.
Yeah.
You know, that's a
It's the ultimate.
yes, and it's one of the hardest things to do is just love unconditionally. So,
You know, that thought's interesting. And some may say that it's impossible to do as a human.
it might be, but you can work on it.
You can definitely work on it.
It can be worked on.
And further, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility.
I like endless pursuits.
Yep. Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu,
Jiu-Jitsu.
love. You know what I mean? Those like
Yoga.
trying to yoga, trying to do better. Just each
Better.
day we're just going to do a little better. It doesn't have to be monumental.
So there is no cutoff.
There's no end. You
Right.
can practice these things until you perish.
Yep.
That's my hopes. Is
Right.
I don't like to involve myself in things that I'll bore of or I'll
Yep.
tire easily from.
There's things.
So I like to put a few things or have a few things in my life that seem like they're endless. Conquest maybe is the wrong word. Like,
That's a good word.
you know, like it's an endless conquest. Like I'm just going to keep
The path.
chipping away at this. And when I bite the dust, that's going to be where it ends.
On the path.
Die with the boots on the trail. You know what I mean?
Run this car until the wheels
Yep,
fall
till the wheels
off.
blow off of it. Blue jeans are worn out. You know what I mean? It's a mess.
Yeah.
But it was never not practiced,
Right.
or never not, at least in a thought. So,
Take it to the end. Take it to 100%. But that there requires one to be very accurate with what they choose to do with their time. Like if you're gonna do something 100%, pick your poison wisely.
but I don't have a ton of other outlets or thoughts or obsessions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Jiu-Jitsu is overwhelming all in itself. And then, like I said, just love. And it's not even like a weird thing. Just being kind to others. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like when somebody cuts me off in traffic, to not lose my shit, just to go, maybe they were in a rush.
Right.
You know, instead of trying to tailgate them and run them off the road and get in front of them and then flip them off, it's like, well, did it really bother me that much? Some days I win, and some days I'm freaking out driving down the highway like an asshole. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I learn from them too. You know, so you take those moments that you do step off, and you realize you weren't maybe quite working on the things you need to be working on, and you go home, you sit with it for a minute, and maybe tomorrow I'll do better.
Right.
You know,
Right.
But
It's
it's not. It doesn't end then. You know what I mean? Like
It's just one
I
step
don't have to
forward.
be at perfection tomorrow. Like I said, I like to think of like life like just a big arc. You know, you kind of come up, you hit your peak, and then you start coming back down, almost like a sunrise and a sunset. You know, and in that there'll be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be wins, and there'll be losses.
There'll be clouds, there'll be wind,
Yeah.
there'll be
But
seasons,
I'd
right?
like to be in a different spot than where I started when I end.
That's interesting. But you end up always in the same room. Right?
Maybe.
That's an
But
interesting thought that comes from yoga is you go so far in a 2x6 area.
yeah. But I'd like it to be, I'd like to do enough remodeling that you don't recognize the space anymore.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you come into the room so many times, but then eventually at the end of it, it's not the same room as it started. I don't want to be the same person.
You have an objective, more full, like a
Just,
more full perspective of the room. Like,
no, just growth, just change in me. You know what I mean? Again, I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago. I'm a different person than I was 20 years ago. So just that, and not different in a bad way. I'm still Nick, but my thoughts and my feelings and things have evolved, you know? And so that's what I mean by that, is just that continuum of evolution as a person. I'm fascinated by that stuff.
yeah, absolutely. That's the endless. That's the endless path.
Yeah.
And that, that comes with challenges because you put so much time in that you could potentially form expectations of where you should be, where you should end up by this certain time, by this certain date, by this landmark. We like to set landmarks, but then we become limited by those landmarks that we set out in the field.
I think of it more like Jack Sparrow's compass.
Yeah.
You open that box up, which way is she pointing today? My heart says we're going this way.
Yeah.
Let's go. You know what I mean? Instead of, I know I'm heading in a direction. Where that direction is, I don't really know. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You know, like I want to continue to keep going forward, but I don't know where the fork in the road is. I don't know where the turn is yet, and I don't know what the outcome or the vision will be. But I just kind of keep adding on and doing better, and I don't know, moving forward.
Just consistently
Yeah.
going in
Yeah.
a direction.
In a direction. We're going
That-
to keep moving.
That requires a ton of trust
But
in the process, in the discipline, in
but I think that's ultimately what we're supposed to do, is we're supposed to trust us.
trust ourselves.
I am me.
Right.
Why wouldn't I trust me? I'm not going to try to I'm not going to try to harm myself. Like I've done dumb shit before, but like
Yeah.
ultimately the goal is self-preservation and self-growth.
Always.
So, yeah, I'm going to mess some things up. But then again, like I said before, once you mess those up, you'll be like, "Oh, you know what I'm not doing again?"
Right.
That.
Right.
So you can learn from it.
I have to learn everything like that.
That's how
Some-
I've learned everything
Right.
though.
Some people don't.
Well, but that's okay.
Right.
So the things I'm saying and the things I'm doing might not work for other people. This is just the things I've found that help me out, you know? And I trust in them. Always have. You know what I mean? Like I've always been on team Nick Lauer.
Sure. Why?
Why wouldn't you be?
Why not?
Why wouldn't you be on your own team? You know what I mean? And that may sound selfish. It's not really. You know, again, I'd like to
Well-
know who I am and be uniquely me. Like I think you need to be uniquely you, and everybody needs to be their own copy of themselves.
Right. Because when you find that person, you're doing a selfless duty. Like what you're doing at Lake Effect is selfless because you working on yourself, you even taking this weekend off and going on a bike packing trip is going to benefit the lives in some way, shape, or form of people who are going there for a reason.
I would like to think so.
Right?
again, that's what I trust
That's what
in.
I've gathered.
That's why I trust in that process.
Right.
Because that's what's got me this far. And again, when that process doesn't suit me or fit, we'll find a new process or a new way or a new something, you know. I think the answer's always out there. You just got to be looking and open to it.
Absolutely. Seeking, always seeking.
I'm one of those people. What's over that hill? Well, what do you think's over there? Well, what do you think's down here? What do you think's down that river? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think's behind the store?
So you don't think you'll ever retire
From what?
from jiu-jitsu? You might. You said you don't know.
Retire from training and learning, and I'd like to hope not.
Right.
You
So
know, but
never-
maybe being a business owner or running a gym or things. Dude, I have no idea.
No idea.
Like I said, I didn't until recently see myself here.
Right.
So I ended up here.
Right. And you
so-
moved here. You moved here.
9 years ago.
Yeah. You were 30.
Yeah. So to think of where I'm going to be in another 20 years, there again, that would be putting those landmarks and those, I got to be here.
Right.
Man, I don't, as long as it sets well here,
Yeah.
I'm going to be there.
Right. This was always a dilemma. This is the dilemma I went through when I came home from college one year. My dad wanted to instill that a plan was necessary. A plan. You have to have a plan.
I got a plan. It's fun.
Right.
We're going to have fun.
We're gonna have fun.
We need to be having fun.
Yes.
If we're not having fun anymore, we're going to set that plan on fire.
You need to change.
We're
the
changing
plan,
it.
Right.
It's over.
So yeah, always having the plan. It didn't jive well with me, so I aborted the plan, and I ended up doing the wilderness thing downstate. Right. Just hooving it and staying state park to state park in that Metro Detroit area, which was interesting.
I bet.
Did it for about 2 weeks.
I bet.
2-3 weeks, yeah. It was interesting, but from that I was like, I don't necessarily need to see where the plan leads, but chip away at something that means something to you. Chip away at it, and that's an undertaking.
It is.
It's an
But it's
undertaking.
also a commitment.
Yep,
You have to commit to something.
and you have to have integrity.
That's my
Integrity,
favorite thing.
you know.
I think being an integral human being, I'm fascinated by that.
Yep,
Like I think all the time about who good male role models are and who like real people who we can look up to. You know what I mean? And it doesn't seem like there's many people. Like integrity's a failing or a secondary thought anymore,
yeah.
you know?
Am I walking the walk? Am I doing
Are you leading by example?
right?
You
Am
know?
I doing this because I enjoy it? Right? Am I doing this for me? Because like we said, that's a selfless thought. And you start to find yourself doing all these things for other people.
It's easy to
It
do.
doesn't last.
Well, and it doesn't create happiness either,
No.
you know?
It can't
But that's
last.
trying to please everybody else. You know, again, if you're focused on you and you're doing the things that make you happy in life, I think you're going to naturally just make others happy.
What? That's an interesting thought. If you're doing what you enjoy, you're naturally going to make other people happy.
Why wouldn't you? You're enjoying something. I love meeting people who enjoy what they do.
Enjoy life.
Yeah, like I got to go to West Virginia and I got to meet Sonia's uncle. And he builds these really unique glass lampshades. Dude was a nerd about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
just deep. You know what I mean? Like I got deep into the stained glass world for a second. You know what I mean? But
Through the window.
but I met someone who was in this little subculture and this little wormhole and knew everything about it. And it was really neat to listen to that person talk. It made my day. That person being a nerd about something and doing what they love and enjoying it, it made me happier to be around them. So how could that not be? You know what I mean? Like when you meet somebody who's like, this is great. You make people happy to be around them. You know what I mean? Like
fascinating.
you bring joy to people. You can see it.
Yeah.
But you're doing what you enjoy
All the time.
all the time.
All the time. And that's been interesting too when work doesn't feel like work anymore.
Feels like you're getting away with something.
Right. And it's magic. You know what I mean? It's magic when you genuinely want to be doing what you're doing to sustain yourself. What do you got to complain about?
Well, I mean, you can feel that if you go into a restaurant. And you go into a restaurant where that person cooking is just like, man, look, I'm going to make this the best meal you've ever had. And they're into
They're
it. You know what I
excited.
mean?
Yeah.
It translates.
Yeah.
But you go to some place and the cook's mad because they're getting shafted by this person and
They
they
didn't
hate
get
this
their
person and
cigarette
they didn't,
break,
and all these other things. And it
you know, the
translates.
car broke down.
You
all
know what
the-
I mean?
yeah.
Somebody hammer fisted the bun down on the burger. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like,
It doesn't taste as good, and it doesn't make you feel as nourished.
maybe I'm completely out of my mind by thinking that. But again, I think when you meet people who are loving what they do and enjoy it, it's kind of, it's
Contagious.
contagious. I was going to use the word intoxicating, but I don't think that's the word.
Contagious. is what
Contagious
it
is the word, yeah.
It's huge. It's huge. No, I feel that. I feel that every time I go to Lake Effect. Like I say, it's been 5 years, so it's been quite a journey from the basement of that building downtown to the basement of what was that building? Was that just a parking garage?
It was
now?
just kind of underneath Sacred
It's
Tattoo.
underneath the tattoo shop. That's where we started, and then underneath the hydroponics store,
Yeah.
and then now it's its own space, and it feels sacred that way. It feels more like a dojo than it ever has.
That's cool, man.
Ever has, you know, because before it was this kind of weird thing, this kind of like underground fight club kind of mentality, and now it's become a jiu-jitsu school, a martial arts like studio, dojo.
Yeah.
You can rotate that if you need it.
That's all right. Well, that's been the plan, though.
Yep.
You know, again, the plan was to make it into that.
Yep.
So, and again, I hate to even say it was a plan. You know, it just started going that direction, and that started to
felt,
become
yeah.
thoughts, and that started to, again, it started to feel what was right inside. You know, oh, I kind of like doing this. I want to do this. I want to do more of this. I'm willing to take the risks to do more of this, to grow this. You know,
Yep.
because I was interested in it. I enjoy it. You know, so to me, it didn't seem like I was taking risks.
People who just met you like a year ago, I don't know if they understand like where you came from. This was a side hustle for you. This was just a thing that you did after work,
This is
not too long ago. You know, where were you working when I first met you? When we were training in the basement?
probably Ron's Tacos, if I was even working. So there was a point in time when we first moved up here that I was just raising Ellis and Wyatt. I was just a
Yeah.
stay-at-home dad.
Oh.
Rachel was working. We kind of moved up here to have a small family and just kind of get back to being a family, and then started training, found Greg, found Dan, and then, you know, eventually it turned into this.
Yeah.
So like I said, the plan's been just kind of
You,
ever evolving.
Yeah, it's just interesting to think that you were just another dude coming to evening classes in my lifetime at that place. You know, 4 years ago. That's short time.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, but I mean, I think it was 2005 or 2006 is when I got involved in this. You know what I mean? And I've been grappling human beings most of my life.
Isn't there something about that?
I never really took much note of it until recently. That I mean, since I've been a young boy,
Yeah.
I've been stood up against another young man or boy and told to take him to the ground. You know what I mean? Like, just take him to the ground. You know, okay, fuck, do it. You know what I mean? And so
Quite a concept. Does it mess with
radical
you?
thought. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
Does that mess with you at all?
to think like that, to think like that, that's been
No, it's kind of hypothetical, or not hypothetical, but rhetorical, because it does have its effect on you when people tell you that there's controlled violence and you're going to be a part of it right now, and that's a reality,
Go.
and that's your reality. They blow the whistle, they shake hands, you're about to go. It's like
it's
far more than what most people experience nowadays in their day-to-day life.
yeah. Well, we all create comfort. We all
Right.
want comfort. You
Pain.
know.
That's it's pain and pleasure. It's absorbed in the pleasure, and then avoiding the pain. But inherently, life has both.
I find them both together.
Yeah, they only work that way. That's the only way they work.
Again, I think you have to have one to have the other a little bit.
It's the yin yang, right?
High highs, low lows,
Yep,
you know?
always.
Yeah. So no, like I said, it becomes one of those things again, just trusting in it again. You know, I wanted to see how far I could take it.
Yeah.
You know, and I really like working for myself.
Yep. Yep.
You know, it's not that I didn't work well with others. I just don't work well for others. You know,
The issue that I have is following directions. That's always been my issue. My mom even told me this.
Yeah.
Oh, multiple.
do you think maybe people like us have an issue with authority?
Something like
Just
that.
a little bit, just a touch.
Because who's the authority? And then don't ask questions. What are you doing asking questions? I am the authority. Who is the authority? Who said you're the authority?
Who said you're the
Right?
authority?
So there's too many questions for that kind of mentality in my brain, right? So that kind of makes it one option, and that's to do it for myself, right? Following directions is what the main thing. I just had that conversation with Northern, right? They need a strength coach. They call somebody, and they say, "We got the playbook. All you're gonna have to do is read the playbook,
Run the plays.
and run the plays."
Can't.
And I said,
Started the
"I'm
playbook.
all set. I'm all set on that."
Yeah.
You know, they said we might have opportunity for a little bit of creativity. I can't run a program that I didn't create passionately.
Yeah.
I can't coach it the same. I know that the people aren't going to get the best out of that training. I know it. And so that really takes away from the coaching, right? And I bet there's somebody out there who would be better at running that playbook.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
And I'm comfortable with that.
As you
fine,
should be.
right? If
that's that process.
right.
It's like, oh, here's an opportunity I should take. It doesn't quite feel right here. I'm going to keep going down there.
It's also in the dome, no windows in a hot summer day, August. It'll be, it would have been a lot of August. August in the dome is like, no, thank you. 15, 16 power racks. That was a big space.
Yeah.
Big gym.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. We talk about time and how long things take to develop. The only real macro level perspective I got of time was through wrestling. I wrestled for 3 years, honestly. 3 years hard, right? With my main focus on wrestling. In 3 years, I was able to become proficient enough to compete, but not be, state quality wrestlers at the Division I level in Michigan, whatever that means.
It means a lot. Yeah. It's
Whatever
a pretty
that
decent
means.
accomplishment.
So to be able to roll around with them at a competitive level and give them a run, and that's really all I wanted, just to get tough, right? So that 3-year period of focus allowed me to get to that level, and then I guess that was the beginning of understanding when you find a discipline of that sort and you put years of time into it. It doesn't matter how shitty your first class is. It doesn't matter how shitty your first match goes or the game or whatever you're trying to accomplish.
It could be shitty for years.
It could be shitty. The first, the second, the 15th, the 1 year in, the 2 year in.
I have shitty months.
Where
you're learning and growing, and so, but again, that's part of it.
Yeah. And to tie it full circle, that grappling, if I were to wrestle now in high school, it's just I didn't have my base of grappling.
Yeah.
It was still foreign to me in ways that I didn't realize then.
Yeah.
And you feel it in your body just differently. When you grab a hold and put your body weight into it. Put your body weight into somebody. Mechanics, physics. That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu because it's even more calculated. Everything can become calculated, but jiu-jitsu is a chess game, and that's highly fascinating.
I really like the mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's what I've come to, the where you have to kind of be outwitting your opponent. The strength and the size and stuff, it matters to a point, but not really. You know what I mean? If you're a little more calculated and you're a little more thought out in your approach and your movements and whatnot, you can come out on top. And that's I really enjoy that.
Yeah. It's built for smaller guys
Yeah,
to protect themselves against bigger.
smaller guys beat me up all the time. You know what I mean? It's a different. Every person you come across is a different problem to solve.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I feel it's endless.
Endless pursuit.
It's an endless pursuit because even with a couple people, you can kind of have an endless pursuit as long as everybody's growing and kind of learning. You can always have a new match and it rolls out different. And each time you and I go, we might kind of do some of the same things, but the dice get rolled differently kind of each time, And so that becomes that, there's all those little stimulating parts in there then. So.
But it's still like a warrior mentality.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's like a warrior aspect to it.
Well, I think that is the continuance of doing something difficult, is that warrior mentality. You could have that in anything that's difficult. You have to do anything difficult day in and day out. You kind of got to have a little bit of a warrior mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, you stop. Most people do.
Yeah. When I think about jiu-jitsu now, it's just totally different than years ago, even months ago. Took multiple steps away from it to come back and understand it differently has been interesting and humbling every time. Every time you take a break from anything that you enjoy doing or that you enjoy being proficient at, you come back rusty. It's always humble. It's hard to start again sometimes.
It's real hard to start again.
Because it's hard to start, right? That's probably number one. Most, that's pretty difficult mentally. It's hard to start again to a lesser degree.
Yeah.
Still difficult. Still a challenge.
Yeah. Big challenge.
Feel it.
Yeah, one of our students was just away for 2 weeks, and he came back, and he's like, man, I got to have this back in my life.
Yeah.
I got to have this 4 times a week to feel right. And I'm like, I'm with you, man,
4 times a week. See, that's interesting to break things down like that. Weekly.
That's where he said his optimal is. He's an older gentleman, and he says for him to be feeling good, he needs to be practicing 4 times a week. That keeps things moving, that keeps him loose, that keeps him feeling good. 2 times a week isn't enough, he said.
Yeah.
He goes, it's an honest 4. So.
Isn't that something to have somebody starting at at older age, like 60? That's what really catches my attention was someone who is 50 to 60 years old decides, I'm going to try this, and I don't know why.
I think it's inspiring.
Yeah.
I hope to be that same level of curious, and I'm brave, because you have to be vulnerable. And I think the older we get, the less we want to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? We protect ourselves, and we protect what is and our thoughts and our emotions and everything like that. And I think it takes a lot to take your hat off and just go into a place and go, I don't know shit, man. I'm here to learn.
Pride.
Yeah.
Right.
Pride, ego, whatever you want to call it, all that stuff. Fear.
That sounded like a fart. I think it was the chair.
Was it?
Yeah. You didn't hear it?
No.
Didn't even hear it. It was your chair. Nick didn't fart it. I just thought that happened for a minute. Like when something happens.
You're like, what the hell was
and
that?
You're just like, you want to laugh, but then
Did you just fight? Did you just fart on the microphone?
Bro,
you're gross.
Gross. No, but that is it's dialed in. What's the space going to do for you?
Hopefully give us some room to grow a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully give us a little bit more breathing room. I mean, the place that we're at now has served us really well, and it's been nothing but amazing. And this is just another step towards being a little more professional.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to have a shower. We're going to have some better changing rooms, a little more accessibility on our entryway, just smooth out some of the rough corners.
Yeah.
We've learned a few things, and now let's see if we can implement them.
Yeah. Just like replacing those bolts,
Yep. You know.
right, on the bike.
Yep. Same thing.
Crashed it a few times.
Yep. This
Right.
went wrong. This went wrong. This is great. This is working great. Well,
Right.
this is all coming
Keep
with.
this, right?
Let's not do this and this,
Yep.
and we'll go over here and we'll see if we can't make it a better thing.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The goal is just to just kind of keep improving. You know. I want to get better as we go.
Yeah. Is there any specific new things to come besides the environment?
No.
Class is going to stay the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all. I think everything's going to remain the same. We're just putting a new roof over it.
Okay.
You know.
New location.
Just a new location.
Where is it?
1907
Still a secret.
on the corner of Wright and Presque Isle.
1907 Presque Isle.
Yep.
So it's right by.
We're a block off the lake and we're closer to the university.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, man, that was an emotional reaction. Us getting this new gym, it wasn't planned.
Right.
Connor was out of town. He
It
was
was-
down and training at Lucas's.
Yeah.
Rachel was at home. I had spent the night at the gym just
Yeah.
because I had an early turnaround. I went and got some rice patty, and I'm driving by this place. I'm like, whoa, they just put a for rent sign up there. Went and watched the sunset. The next day I went over and went into the place. I'm like, well, we absolutely got to have this. Like I said, it was just shooting from the hip, but
And there was other people ready to jump on it too. It's a sweet spot.
Yeah. No, by the time I had went back and talked to the guy, he said that there was like 6 people looking at it or contacting him about it.
Wow.
So,
Meant to be.
who knows?
Feels like it,
Yeah,
right?
and that's again finding that comfort in that type of thing. It's like, oh, this says jump on it, go for it.
Okay.
You know, and then again, if that starts to be a problem, me behaving like that, we'll adjust it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I shouldn't say behaving like that, but it maybe trusting in the gut, trusting in my emotional reaction to it. It's like,
Sure.
oh, this just seemed like it was a little bit of a challenge, and I was super excited about it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, makes you a little nervous, makes your feet sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
It's worth looking into.
Yeah. It's worth trying.
Yeah,
You know, it's worth trying.
I agree.
What about a black belt?
What about it?
Are you going for a black belt
Yeah,
in time to come?
we're working on it, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I guess I don't really know what the
Is that like you talk about an end point that probably isn't going to be the end point for you?
if I had to say anything, that would seem like it's a starting point.
Right. Because I know in jiu-jitsu, like, everyone wants to say,
I think that just means you're qualified to talk about jiu-jitsu.
yeah,
Because there again, you start kind of over. Because again, if there's a sea of black belts out there that have 40 years on you as being a black belt, I've got a lot of shit to learn.
yeah,
So I mean, I start over at the beginning of the line again.
right. So you see it as a new beginning,
Of course, it's a new challenge. It's a new everything.
right?
You know.
And yeah,
So I mean, so obviously, yeah, it's one of those things I'm working towards. But again, I don't even really know how to get it. You know,
right,
I don't know what's required.
right. Because we were talking about competition. Is competition required?
I don't think so.
No.
You know, like I said, I've been training with Mark and Sonia Plavkin out of Madison for a really long time. You know what I mean? And so I trust their judgment. You know, when they feel like it's time to put that on, and then that's when that's going to happen. You know, so.
Right on.
And again, I have to trust in that fact. I'm in one of the last remaining, I feel, old school apprenticeships, where I've just kind of hitched my wagon behind a group of people that are heading in a similar direction. And I'm taking notes and cues and ideas and thoughts and trying to form my own along the way, you
Right.
know? And so hopefully they find that I'm doing well enough, and then I'll have earned that black belt, and then we'll be able to start doing jiu-jitsu.
Right. Well, we are, but
I know.
that's
But and you know, and again, that's just the mindset I take in it. You know, this will be a start, not over, but like it puts you back at the beginning of the line.
a fresh
Yeah.
start. Mm-hmm. No, that's a big deal. You know, it takes us.
Well, I mean, if you look at it at the terms of finishing up any sort of schooling or anything like that,
Why do you finish school?
why do you finish school? Well, I mean,
To
like,
take it out into the world.
well, that, but Working on finishing a paper. Again, I'm not very versed in the ways of college. So, I mean, what are you writing? A graduate paper? Are you writing a dissertation? What are you doing to get your doctorate? I mean, 15 years invested in this we could have done a lot of things in that time, given all the time I've put into it, could have focused on a lot of different things.
But you got this.
But I have this. Again, this is what I've chose to do.
Yeah.
I've followed jiu-jitsu far enough into the hole that I don't know how to get out. You know what I mean? Like I've gone in so deep that I don't know how to back out anymore. I don't know where the door out is.
That's very interesting because you think about a cave, right? You think about some of those mining shafts out in Nagani.
I'm somewhere in the middle of it.
In the dark.
In the dark.
Right.
Man, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So it's not, and that's what I understand. It's not for everyone. That type of trust, that type of commitment to something that who knows? I could never get out of the cave.
I trust, I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
You trust, I don't know. That's called faith.
Yeah.
Do you have faith in I don't know? It's just called faith.
I have faith in me.
Right?
Again, I'm on Team Nick.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's not a bad thing. I'm interested in who I'm supposed to be. And in that, I think we all become better people.
Yep. If we're all doing it.
Even if we're not all doing it, even if some of us are doing it.
Yeah.
Somebody has to show you a way into it. I didn't just know this shit.
Right.
It's been just through years of learning and meeting and growing and trusting and all that stuff.
Failing.
All
of it.
Like I said, I don't think failure is not a bad word.
No, and it might not exist, really.
Yeah, I mean,
It's kind of a made up thing.
you can fail at something, but I mean,
Even if you die.
Well, but I think if you don't learn from it, maybe it's a failure.
Yeah. If there was something to be learned,
Yeah.
and you ignored it,
Yeah.
pushed it away, said, I don't take responsibility for that. I don't take responsibility for learning that. That might be failure.
Could be.
But
And then again, it could take 40 or 50 attempts at that lesson to learn it. I know there's some lessons out there that have taken me a long time to learn. And a lot of heartache and all other kinds of things have come into it. But I eventually learn it, And so I got faith that, we'll all come across it.
beautiful. Beautiful. Well, dude, that was an hour.
Awesome.
Does it feel like it?
No.
Not at all. How can people learn more about Lake Effect and what you guys are doing and all this?
Learn more about jiu-jitsu, man. You can learn that anywhere. You know what I mean? As you learn more about us, I mean, obviously we do Instagram, we do Facebook, we got websites, you know what I mean? Lake Effect Jiu-Jitsu, you can pretty much find anything we're doing. You can come visit us. Like I said, you stop into the gym, you track one of us down, you get a hold of you to get a hold of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
So we're not too tough to find. So
Right on. Lake Effect Jiu-Jitsu, Marquette.
yeah, Marquette. And like I said, we're currently right now off of 3rd Street, and then we're going to be moving over off of Presque Isle, hopefully by August. So somewhere thereabouts.
All good things.
I think so, man.
Good stuff, brother.
I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Huge.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I think the sounds we're hearing is probably my stomach rumbling.
Okay. We should probably get something to eat then.
Could
Till
be.
next time, guys.
Thanks, Connor.
Ride the waves, dude.
See ya.